like that's why I always go as big as I can, because I know you can always tone somebody down
easily.
You can never pull something that isn't there.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to The Empire Podcast. My name is Antonio The Miles. Welcome. And before we get into this amazing interview, we're going to start with, you can find me at Instagram at Yeah, That Is Him, spelled YeahThatishim. Also, if you want to support the podcast, you like what's going on, you can go to CashApp, $TheeMpiles. And other than that, one more thing. I got a great ebook coming out very soon called 10 Things That Your Parents Should Have Taught You But Didn't. All right, other than that, let's get into the show. And so today, we have a great guest that we're going to interview. His name is Cash Morgan, and he's an actor. He's been acting for at least 2 decades, and we're going to get into that. So other than that, we're going to welcome Cash Morgan to the pod.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Man, glad to have you here.
This is good. Yeah. We're looking forward to it.
Oh, man. So how have you been?
Doing good. Yeah. I've been really well. Family's doing excellent. Got a wife, 2 girls at home. One's about to turn 15. The other one will be 21 at the end of the year.
Okay.
And then
not little girls anymore.
Yeah, no. And then our oldest is she's kind of doing her own thing, but seems to be doing well. So
okay,
everybody's happy, and that's it's all you ever really want.
That's all that matters, right?
At this stage, yeah.
Amen.
That's what you want the most.
Amen.
I will say in your intro, saying at least 2 decades, and I believe it's 3. It's just over 3. So I started. I think I did my first show in '88.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. 89. 89.
Wow.
Yeah. The October of '89. So.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos. So, for Cash, for people who do not know you or who you are, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Well, I grew up here in the Inland Empire. Born actually right down the street at St. Bernardine's in '75. Just had my 47th birthday 2 weeks ago.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. So I grew up around here. In Yucaipa, actually, is where I grew up. But my grandfather had a construction company, so we ended up moving all over. So I actually in elementary school went to about 6 different elementary schools, but it would always come back to Yucaipa. And even in 6th grade, went out towards Laguna Beach. And then I think I went to 4th grade in Vegas, 2 different schools.
Wow.
In Vegas. And then actually in my senior year, so moved around a lot, but always came back to Yucaipa. But then in my senior year, actually in the middle of my junior year, my parents moved up to Oregon. And then my senior year, I moved up to Oregon. Spent my just my senior year. And then a couple years of community college in and around like the Portland area of Oregon, which actually probably did the most to kind of form my opinions in my development later in life. I was really hesitant to move because all I had ever known was this area and the way life works here.
Gotcha.
By moving someplace that
how
was
far would
so
you say
different,
this area? Sorry, how far would you say this area is for people who don't know from Los Angeles?
So what I always tell people is if you drew a line from LA to Palm Springs, because most people know those two places.
Yeah.
You know, they know Palm Springs, they know LA. If you drew a line between the two, you would call it the 10 freeway, and we're almost right in the middle of it. So like mileage, I would say it's probably only about 60, 70 miles.
Okay.
But the way traffic is, take you like 2.5 hours to get like
Easily.
into LA. Again, back in my day,
Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
it wouldn't take you. You could get to LA in just over an hour. Not the case these days.
Not even close.
But yeah, so it's considered the high desert because I think the elevation is a little higher. We're also right at the base of Big Bear Mountain.
Got you. Give a perspective for you guys.
Yeah, that's the thing I usually tell people is those three things that we're kind of right in between Palm Springs and LA, right at the base of Big Bear. So that's it. It's not what when you usually think of California, and especially Southern California, this is not what you picture.
Not even close.
Yeah, no. But it is. But growing up here, and especially like I got my license like the day after I turned 16, and had a car like a week later. Like a used car that I had worked all the summers for my grandfather in the aforementioned construction business that he had.
Okay.
So I made good money during like the summers, and I didn't have to spend any of it. So when it was time to get a car, I had a good chunk of money to and being in this area, once I got my license, I mean, I was in LA a lot, or I was at the beach a lot.
Moving a lot.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
So there's definitely a lot to experience when you're young and you have like that kind of freedom.
Gotcha.
But to go back to what I was saying is like, going there to a place that was so different.
Oregon.
To Oregon, the small town of McMinnville.
Okay.
Is
Say that name again?
McMinnville.
Wow, that's a name.
Which incidentally, so I graduated in '93, so I went up in like mid-August of '92. That same summer, the Spruce Goose, which was here in Long Beach next to the Queen Mary, the Spruce Goose is the biggest plane ever made out of wood, and I believe it was built by Howard Hughes. But it was there, and now it moved the same year I moved from Southern California to McMinnville, Oregon. The Spruce Goose moved, and there's a small airport and air museum that houses the Spruce Goose now there.
Wow. So what was the biggest like shock from living California to going to Oregon?
I think the biggest I think the biggest overall shock because there were so many little differences, but I think the biggest overall shock was just the pace. Even way out here when not really near LA, but this was also when I was in high school was the birth of shows like Beverly Hills 90210 and what is it, Saved by the Bell, stuff like that, where even though we weren't in like any kind of epicenter of culture, like we weren't in LA or like San Francisco or San Diego, where where you usually think of Southern California, here we were still like into fashion, into like looking a certain way, listening to the right type of music and stuff like that, and you were kind of put into cliques based on what you wore or what you listened to. Whereas like up there, it seemed small, like sticking with the pace. It seemed like slower, and people like right away you could tell people weren't as interested in what you were wearing, or like if you were listening to something. Oh, that's cool. What is that? Or it seemed like there wasn't as much. I mean, every community is gonna have it, but there wasn't as much exclusion as there seemed to be like down here. Stuff like that. There was the even within the high school there was. I remember Measure 9 was on the ballot up there, and it was. I know it had to do with like if it got passed, it would affect something with gay rights, and I believe something with health insurance.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know like if you were an ally, say you wanted it to be no. There was like a lot of 9 on 9.
Okay.
No on 9.
Yeah, German 9.
Yeah,
German, gotcha.
yeah, 9 on 9.
Wow.
But that was like within the school, like like down here, you would. It just wasn't. You wouldn't ally yourself like at that time. You wouldn't align yourself with supporting gay rights, but you'd be afraid to, or you'd be like ostracized. But
What year was this around, do you think?
I moved up in 92 and
Okay.
graduated in 93.
Okay.
So early 90s.
Yeah.
Which and was kind of funny too, is going back to like what you were listening to. That's like right when grunge was happening.
Gotcha.
And
Nirvana?
it was all coming out from there. So like what everybody was listening to was like I was going to where and Portland itself and I spent a little bit of time in Seattle like area, but and I know they have kind of the same thing, but there's a lot of these like little clubs where like you can always find like free music that's like these small little bands.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that was like and I mean for nothing, like like it was always like affordable to go out and like
Enjoy this.
see like new bands, and like you knew were like whatever sound you kind of wanted to hear, you like,
can find.
Those clubs, or like
Okay.
you could find that,
Okay.
and it also felt and a little more like sophisticated or grown up.
Okay,
Like,
interesting. Okay.
Like again, going back to like people were like down here a little more worried about how you looked and where you fit in, whereas like kind of up there that was like secondary. It was like it was
Come on, everybody.
and especially because
Yeah.
being a senior, it was like much more like it seemed like everybody up there, and again I was a senior, so but everybody was like really focused on like where am I going,
Okay. Okay.
whereas like down here everybody was like where am I, what's
Gotcha.
going on right now, what's going on this weekend, what's going on, I never really had a discussion about after high school, like future plans and stuff. I mean, people had them, but it was much more like personal. Whereas like up there, pretty much everybody knew where everybody was going,
Yeah.
and like it was, I don't know, it was more inclusive, more supportive, but it also just seemed like kind of more like more sophisticated.
Definitely.
I guess the only kind of word I can kind of put to
That comes
it,
with it. Yeah, and they seem kind of like, from what you're saying, like forward thinking.
Yeah.
Like more forward thinking. But I wanted to get into acting, right?
Yeah,
Because we want to talk
for
about you
sure.
and your acting, right?
For sure, yeah.
So how did you get into acting, and when did you start acting? I think you said 88.
Yeah.
But like, how did you get into it?
It was okay. So the first like public speaking thing I ever did, right? So in 7th and 8th grade, I went to a Catholic school
Okay.
Sacred Heart. It's in Redlands,
Mm-hmm.
and every Friday we had to go to mass. And this was actually, I think it was towards the end of the year. It was right when most of the eighth graders got confirmed.
Yeah.
I got chosen to do one of the readings, right?
Gotcha.
So that was the first thing I ever did, and it was like all the parents, and I think it was all the school too, like all the school, all the teachers or sisters, and then all the
Sisters,
parents.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I can't even remember what reading I did, but I know the the family that lived across the street, she took me to school because they had 3 girls, 3 boys, and they had all gone to this school, and I happened to be right in the middle of their youngest son, and then the youngest daughter was a year older than me, and the youngest boy was a year younger than me. So
You're in the middle.
So yeah,
Okay.
I would ride to school with them in the mornings because we lived at the top of Yucaipa and the school was in Redlands. But
Which is down the hill, basically. From
yeah. It's like the next town over, but yeah, down a hill to the west. Redlands is just west of Yucaipa, on the 10 freeway.
Yeah.
I-10 freeway.
And quick thing, I just wanted to say for people who've never been to like a Catholic school and you only been to private school, or public school, Catholic school is completely different. You probably have to wear a uniform.
Yep.
There's prayer involved in school.
First class is always religion.
Yeah.
Like no matter what grade you're in.
Yeah.
Very first class is religion.
Completely
Friday
different.
mass. And the uniform for the guys was either blue corduroy pants.
You still remember? Okay.
I don't know if they had to be corduroy, but for some reason everybody did have corduroy, so I think that was. And then light blue shirt. It had to be dark blue pants, light blue shirt. You could wear shorts. They had to be to like below the knee. Same with girls.
Yeah.
You could wear shorts, but they had to be below the knee. For girls, it was just the classic white shirt.
Facts.
With the plaid red and blue green skirt.
Gotcha. I can't imagine a boy arguing with the professor saying, I need my shorts to be above the knee. I'm going to be fighting if I can't get my shorts above the knee.
It is different. But after I did the reading, the mother, Mrs. Houso, the one that used to drive me to school, she said that like from that, like I was so clear, and it was the first time I had gotten praise
from your reading
for just being in front of people and you seemed relaxed. It was just getting compliments for something, and I was a bit of a cut up, especially at that time.
Gotcha.
I more wanted attention and whatever I had to do to get it.
Things haven't changed much.
Yeah, exactly. and you kind of need a little bit of that if you're going to have any success,
Facts.
on the stage.
Yes.
And so that was like I said, that was 8th grade. And then in my freshman year, which would have been 89, 90, right? Yeah, so it would have gone like my freshman year would have ended in 90, 91, 92, 93, graduated. Yeah, so the fall play, well, first of all, even as I was, filling out all the classes I wanted to take for my freshman year, like the summer before going into like starting high school, it was the first time that I was like electives. I get to choose 2 of the classes I'm going to take.
You're in college now.
That's great. I have to take these, but then they're giving me 2 classes I can choose. So I was like looking through everything, and I was like drama, and it's like first period. I'm like,
Gotcha.
that sounds interesting.
It's a lot different than religion in the morning.
And then in the first month, there was one of the seniors had been asking for like a couple years to direct a show, and he wanted to direct Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay.
And so they gave it to him. Sean.
No worries.
Belcher, I think was his name. I'm almost positive.
It's all good.
And so I auditioned, and they gave me the part of Dr. Seward, which was the Dracula's love interest's father.
Okay.
So
I got you paused on that love interest part for a while. I was like, okay, I didn't know they were doing some progressive roles back then.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
And again, like I saw the video, so I know that it was all lies, but again, I got praise.
Okay.
Again, from family and friends. Oh, you were good. Oh, and it was so like in Catholic school, I was really good at track. I ran cross country my freshman year, and I had some success, but it was much harder to get family members to come out for a day in Southern California to watch
in the summer.
Yeah, and especially if it's like cross country, like you see them all go, "Yay!" and then they run for 3 miles, so you don't see them for like 20 minutes or half an hour, and then you see them coming over a hill. Okay, hey, you're just. But if it's an hour and a half, you're gonna have an intermission. Probably gonna get some cookies and punch.
Yeah,
like
it's doable.
So
and it's got air conditioning.
Family members would come. There was a couple cousins I was in school with. They would get extra credit, so they would always come to the shows.
Cool. Cool.
So again, there was praise, and I really like what appealed to me above everything not to mention another podcast, but
no, fine.
Kevin Pollak had a podcast called Chat Show, and he had Tom Hanks on there. Tom Hanks was saying the best part, like in any actor will tell you, is the hang.
Right? Explain to us what the hang is.
The hang is just like it's the time in between. Like if you're rehearsing and you have to take 5, the people and the relationships and the jokes you have while you're rehearsing for a show or while you're putting a show on, it's like another there's like life, and then you go to the theater to like rehearse this thing, and I think that had a cast of like 6 people. So you 6 people and the director, like you 7 people are doing something that's like this little microcosm, right? And like the whole rest of the world is doing whatever it's doing, but for whatever time you're in there working on this, it's just you guys. And the hang is like those moments and all the time when you're in the space, but you're not necessarily working on the show.
Okay.
It's the
space between.
It's the like I said, like the jokes you have, or the stories that the memories that you're starting to make.
Gotcha.
With that, and that, like the backstage energy and the backstage and the friends that I've made in the theater are like no other friends.
Yeah.
And
completely different.
Yeah,
group of people. Yeah.
And when you're going. And also I've done probably like 80 plus plays in different capacities, like, and that's whether, on stage or backstage, or, a main role or an ensemble, or just I walk across. I once literally won a Inland Regional Theater League, the ITL, Inland Theater League Award.
Okay.
I did a couple bits, but I was in this show called I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change.
Can you say that one more time, please?
I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Which is basically, the show is like a series of very small scenes, like vignettes, they would call them.
Okay.
And like basically all I did, like really, I think I won the award for rolling a tire across the stage.
Got you.
Because that's like all I did was like I rolled it while there was like a song going on where it's like a family taking a car ride, and like the arguments, or like the thing from the kids' perspective, the parents' perspective, this and that, and like during the song I would just like I rolled it like like I rolled it and I was walking behind it, mugging, hey. And then I did it where like I ran across and a person like rolled it like behind me and I was running from the tire.
Got you.
And it was like stupid stuff like that. But like I ended up winning. But
you love it still though. Doesn't
but
matter.
yeah, that's the thing is like it for certain people obviously, and for me it was just so infectious.
Mm-hmm.
Even in that first show, like I really enjoyed it, like the Dracula, I really enjoyed it. I loved like being on stage. I loved the reaction of people, but it wasn't like, even with that, there was like I fell in love obviously. The second show was The Odd Couple, and I was just one of the guys playing cards.
Okay.
That one solidified everything
For you,
because the scenes were like rehearsal. It's just us playing cards.
Yeah.
So we would be joking. They'd be doing something over here, and it was just joking with these guys. Like that's like pretty much all it was. I had like 2 lines, and those 2 lines were funny. Like I had 2 my lines were jokes.
Do you remember them?
No.
Got you.
No.
I know it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. This would, I think it would have maybe the beginning of 90. I think it was spring of 90.
Got you.
Almost
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. So but getting that laugh, I knew that is like, okay, like
this is it.
Yeah, this is whatever I have to do to keep getting on the stage and doing stuff, to make people laugh. I mean, flash forward to like, 2019 was kind of the last like real big. I think the last thing I did was we ended in March of 2020.
Yeah.
Like we ended a show in March of 2020, and then everything,
Yeah, another pandemic thing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So up until then, I was working like, pretty steady, like doing at least probably 2 to 3 shows a year.
Easily.
And just speaking of like the comedy angle of what I fell in love with acting is, so we did a production of, excuse me, sorry.
No, fine.
Midsummer Night's Dream. And I played Theseus, who, so really quickly, I mean, everybody kind of knows some lines get crossed, lovers fall asleep in the woods, the fairies put a concoction on their eyes, and everybody falls in love with the wrong people, and they have to straighten it all out. Theseus is in the very, very beginning of the play, and he's talking to this woman, Hippolyta, that's his bride, and just saying, oh, we're going to be married in 3 days. What is kind of like here and there they don't really say is like he kidnapped her.
Got you.
The
nice old creepo move.
Yeah, and the king and the queen and the fairies kind of touch on it, and they say like, yeah, he just thought that she was beautiful, so and he used to
took her.
Well, he used to mess around with the queen of the fairies.
Oh wow.
And so yeah,
wanted a younger model.
But it's not really. It's kind of like his name should basically be King Obvious. Exposition, King Exposition, because that's basically his job, is to kind of set everything up and then resolve everything at the end. That's basically the only job of this guy. And, so it's really kind of a really, really dry part. But the director, made a comment a couple times to me that, it's the first time that because she had put the show on a number of times. It's the first time Theseus ever got laughs. She's never even seen a production where this character gets laughs.
Yeah, it's impossible technically in her mind.
Yeah, it's Shakespeare, and it's just toast.
Yeah,
you
dry.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like, and I've been doing it for so long that like, and I told her I have a comic slant to almost everything that I do.
Yeah. Can
like
just do it that way.
Yeah, it's just if it's supposed to be a real person, well, life comes with laughs. As far as that,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's how I live it anyway. So like, I mean, if I have to play like, something, and I've had roles where like
Like
I've,
serious, right?
I've played a couple different roles, but one of them like I was more or less a con man, and at the end of the show, I'm like pouring kerosene and about to light an old lady on fire.
Okay.
Because I want to collect this insurance money.
I like it.
And, and even in that, there was a couple moments where I was able to, like, as a con man, like, I had to be kind of suave.
Yeah.
So I could still fit in laughs within the show, but, like, towards the end, there,
No laughs.
Yeah.
So is there, as far as, can you or have you done a role where you're just completely serious the whole time, where you have to, like, the director will not allow you to bring any comedy into the role?
That's a good question. Yes. I'm sure if I thought about it, there'd be more, but the one that springs to mind, there was absolutely no humor in it. It was a smaller part, but there's a show called Equus.
Okay.
It is, I believe it was it's a British show, but it's basically about an adolescent. I think he just became a teenager, maybe. But he's young. His mom is very religious, and he starts working at a ranch, and he's kind of taking care of horses. And his mom is extremely, extremely religious, and he catches his dad coming out of like a dirty movie theater with a woman.
Okay.
And so it kind of like snaps something in him to where he creates a religion out of horses. There's this whole scene where he gives them theology, like Nequus begat Fleckus, and Fleckus begat, and like
a Bible type of thing going on. Yeah. Wow.
And at the very I guess, well, the whole show is kind of about a psychiatrist talking to him about the event that doesn't really have, like, you realize you're in a flashback by the time you're at the end, but
Gotcha.
so the event is he meets a girl, and for the first time he's about to have sex, but he's already built this religion up. And
About the horses.
About the horses.
Okay.
And so the first time is going to be in the barn or in the stables.
Okay.
But
Just smell of shit everywhere.
as it's about to go down, all the horses are looking.
Okay.
And he gets freaked out.
Gotcha.
Because of the religion aspect, and goes around with it's a tool that's used to scrape dirt out of
the hooves. Yeah.
But he blinds all the horses.
All right.
With this.
Wow.
I played the owner of the ranch, so I had to go in and give like testimony, or talk to the. No, I think I was talking to the psychiatrist, because he was interviewing me on trying to get, like, before it, was he a good guy, or like,
et cetera, et cetera.
But yeah, so that was
the serious role.
Yeah, it was a serious role. There was no humor. There was no.
Yeah. Let's make people laugh about horses getting their eyes gouged out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a question about, what's your thoughts on auditioning and the audition process?
I'm in the minority in this. Most people you would ask hate the audition process.
Okay.
It is like nerve-wracking.
Do you believe it's necessary for auditions to occur?
I believe the way it's done, I mean, yes, I believe it's necessary.
Okay.
I do believe that, again, like, I'm in the minority.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't feel, and unfortunately there isn't really another way to do it, but I don't feel it's as effective as as kind of the ideal of what it's supposed to be.
Can you explain?
Yes. Meaning you're not going to get, a good performance out of somebody because they're nervous.
Okay. Yeah.
Most of the time, unless you're going for something that like a lot of times in musical theater, like you already know the show, like
like Hairspray.
And yeah, unless you're part of a premiere, and that's like totally different, But like most of the time, what you're going, so you can have like prepared a song, and you know what it's supposed to sound like.
Facts. Yeah. Have a sing along tape and everything.
Right. And same kind of with plays. If you're going for something like The Odd Couple, you've seen The Odd Couple, or at least you know about it, so like you kind of know what they want to hear. However, and I know there's a lot of other actors that are kind of like this too. Is like for me, I mostly know the plays that I've been in.
Okay.
I've been in a lot of plays that I knew nothing about, and then I did them, and like, oh, that was a really good show.
Yeah.
But for a lot of times, this is the first time you're seeing the dialogue. You're nervous, so like what you do on the day of the audition, and even like so basically for me, like when I go to audition, I go like not knowing, and even more so not caring whether or not I get the part.
Okay.
I'm going to go in.
That's a great way to go about it.
I'm going to go in, I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to make sure they hear whatever I'm saying outside this room, or like I'm going to be playing to the back of the theater right now.
That is a great mindset.
And
great mindset.
Most everything, like I've never gone to an audition, and I've done like Hollywood auditions, or like I did that for a while too, and I've always gotten a callback at least. Almost always, and if it's been a play, I've always gotten a part.
Okay.
I've never auditioned for something and not gotten some part in it.
Okay. You're gonna get something out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that says a lot. That says a lot.
And also, but I think that's why too, is like I know, and also like, so my wife and I, Carrie, have a theater company called CNC. So
got you. We'll definitely talk about that too.
We've had to hold auditions, be on the other side of it. So I know from that, and I knew even before that.
So like, what do you look for? Sorry to interrupt. What do you look for when you're seeing people audition?
So basically, like what I was about to say is, like, that's why I always go as big as I can, because I know you can always tone somebody down
easily.
You can never pull something that isn't there,
or at least it's gonna be a lot harder.
So yeah, if I can leave the room and they're saying like man, that was a little too much, they're gonna remember it though, and they're gonna be like, yeah, okay, but we don't have to, like, we can work on all these other aspects, and maybe everybody else raise it to that, but if nothing else, we can calm this guy down.
Yes.
We have something to work with. So again, to ask your question, like, that's kind of more or less what I'm looking for. Like, the first thing you want is, what the cast is going, to look like. So what kind of, if these two people have to be a couple, you don't want, 7'2" with 4'5",
Yeah, part.
or maybe you do.
Maybe
it's hilarious
if the chemistry's there.
Exactly. Maybe you do, but you kind of want to see a lot of times what two people talking to each other looks like. Do they have any kind of chemistry?
Yeah.
You're also looking for, like, give us a minute. A lot of times I'll just do that. Just give us a second, and I won't be saying anything to Carrie.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, okay, are they talking to each other? Are they, like, not talking to each other? Do these people know each other from before? Do they not like each other? I'm looking at where, like, what you are. And also, a lot of times, I'm looking for how everybody in like the green room waiting to come in
Mm-hmm.
is like acting as well. Because going back to the hang, that's another thing
Yes.
too.
Yep.
Is I could have somebody that's giving me everything as soon as like, okay,
Action.
and go.
Yeah.
And like, okay, that's, that's great. Like it looks really good. And as soon as like, you say, okay, cut, take 5, that one person that like is good and showing me everything is kind of off on their own because nobody wants to hang out with them.
Gotcha.
Or like
For whatever reason.
yeah, or for whatever reason,
Yeah.
is like, okay, well, all like, this guy's like, just as good. He doesn't say this quite the same way, but we can maybe work on that. But everybody likes him. He doesn't mind staying a little late, or he doesn't mind, doing the work that a lot of times these kind of shows take, above what it is you were just asked to do, on day one.
I like that. So you guys hear that? So if you want to be an actor during auditions, go big.
Go big.
You've heard the term "go
Yeah.
big or go home." That relates to
Yeah.
this right here, right? And also, what Cash says, as someone on the other side of the audition table, he's basically testing to see how you act when you think they're not looking.
Yeah.
That's basically the key. Like, how well can you basically get along with your peers? That's basically what he was getting at in the essence. How well can you get along with your peers? Because in the end of the day, anyone doing a production, they do not want drama with their cast and crew, because that's just going to hurt the overall production. So make sure that you're able to get along. If you're like Johnny Depp or someone else that's on a high level, then you can do whatever you want. But it's going to take steps to get there. And guess what? In order to play the game, you got to play ball.
Yep.
So don't forget that.